Welcome back, supply chain strategists, network navigators, and transformation trailblazers. Joe Davis here, your friendly neighborhood podcast host, welcoming you to another episode of Gains On, the podcast where we explore the future of supply chain strategy, planning, and design, powered as always by the brilliant minds at Gains. Today we'll hear how Keurig Dr Pepper went from spreadsheets to a fully connected, always-on approach to network design, scenario building, and cross-functional collaboration. Joining me is Tyler Waddles, Director of Network Transformation and Business Operations at KDP. Tyler and his team have navigated rapid growth, SKU proliferation, and the high-speed turbulence of the post-pandemic landscape, all while shifting from traditional processes to a modern end-to-end modeling capability powered by Gains. We'll talk about how KDP built trust in the data, how scenario logic helped leaders understand each step of the decision process, and how shared visibility turned cross-functional alignment into something practical and repeatable. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for coming and welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So quick question. I know when we spoke earlier, you had talked about before coming to Gains, you were running the KDP, the Keurig Dr Pepper supply chain using spreadsheets.
Mhm.
That seems terrifying and impossible to me. How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the tools that we had at the time, and that was the processes and a lot of traditional data and traditional processes and thinking. And luckily, we had some leadership changes, and the expectation was that we change our processes and transform that and come up with the times. And so, luckily, we've had good vision from leadership to make a change in that department.
Excellent. And what was driving that? Was it just sort of we know that there are better ways of doing this and we can find places to improve?
Yeah, better ways and just the need for speed. No, speed. But no, I mean, just such a fast change environment, especially post COVID with supply chain disruption. We just didn't have time to continue to churn through things in smaller segments. We needed to look at the network holistically, and yeah, we needed to be able to react much quicker.
Excellent. Well, what led you to work with Gains?
So when we kind of went out into the industry to look for the right partner, we don't have a internal network optimization kind of team with those kind of internal capabilities. So um, we needed to find a partner that could help supplement the skills that we didn't have, but also a tool that would advance our ability to scenario the network. Gaines was not our first partnership, but where we shifted to Gains because of the ability to put our hands on the tool, on the architect modeling tool. And so it was important for us to be able to be a part of the modeling, the data collection, the validation, and the scenario building. So rather than kind of just pass
Yeah.
over data,
Here are the keys.
exactly, hand over data, and then one day it comes back.
Right.
Wait, what? So the Gains collaboration has just been the key that has unlocked what we're doing.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's great when we can have a partnership like that. And it's because I always say that the hands that are closest to the work know it best. And so to design a system without the input of the person you're inputting with, it's just, I mean, it just seems like a fool's errand.
Exactly.
So, Keurig Dr Pepper, as I understand, grows a lot through mergers and acquisitions, or mainly acquisitions. And I imagine that that brings a lot of new, different factors, uncertainty into the network. How do you deal with bringing on a new business?
Sure. Yeah. So the inorganic growth is it's a giant influx of case volume and of SKU proliferation and all at once. And sometimes um, you don't know it's happening until it happens, just because of the sensitivity of the deals. But
Right.
yeah, traditionally um, we partner with different companies who need to amplify their route to market, and they leverage our existing network, our store penetration, and so again, with the speed and the modeling, organic growth is one thing, right?
Yeah.
On a
Right.
five-year horizon, couple percent here and there, plus or minus,
Yeah.
you can adapt and react with enough lead time there. But the inorganic growth is where the disruption happens. But it's great disruption, right? To get these new
And that's
strategic things.
interesting that you mentioned that too. Sort of like organic growth, you can of course prepare for, but with the sort of the sensitive nature of some of the things that you're dealing with, like bringing on a new brand, bringing on a new company, um, I imagine that creates all sorts of unique problems, where all of a sudden you're just like, "Hey, Tyler, here you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
good luck."
Yep. Yep. Unique opportunities.
Unique opportunities, right?
But with this capability, with the Gains tool, with the team that we've now created, we've earned the right to be a part of those conversations in this department. And
Yeah,
so um, these last couple of acquisitions and partnerships, we've been able to kind of have that confidence of leadership to bring us in and model some of those scenarios and have a better idea of the impact of that inorganic acquisition.
yeah.
It's kind of been a little transition from reactive to proactive, but we've earned that right through the modeling work we've been doing.
That's great. When you were bringing gains on, and maybe this applies, maybe it doesn't. I know a lot of times people have difficulty sort of trusting a new tool. Um, One, it's new, it creates a certain level of uncertainty. So when you brought the tool in, or sorry, brought the gain solution in, um, how did you sell people on it? How did you convince them to move forward?
Yeah, that's been probably, the change management piece is always the hurdle, and it's the way we've always done it. Well, when it's time to change, you got to get people on board, and so we kind of took the show on the road and kind of went department to department, made sure that we had the key stakeholders, the key engagement, make sure that we were hearing the voice of the customer, making sure that we're able to ensure that each group is represented.
Yeah.
Like current state, we have a daily stand-up call with the Gains team on our account, and there's probably 7 or 8 different departments
Oh,
represented,
great.
both from sales, finance, supply chain, manufacturing, distribution. So, really just want to make sure that everybody is involved, and this is our tool, and it's our network, and it's end to end. And the more folks you involve that are supplying the data, the more trust and
Yeah.
belief there is in the outputs.
But it sounds like really that the communication and the breaking down of those silos has been really helpful.
Yeah, and I would say that this kind of way of working and the what we've gone through to implement the tool, and now the outputs and now the scenarios that we're being tasked with, it's really been a positive ways of working mind shift within KDP. Every company deals with silos and interdepartment friction and whatnot, and we were not immune to that. But I will say that through this process, it's helped tear down those walls and those barriers. And like I said, the folks on the calls each morning, like probably teams that weren't
Right.
talking and working on things that often.
Yeah.
And so it's been quite refreshing to tear down those silos.
So when your leadership comes to you and they say that they'd like to see, a plus or minus 10% growth, what would that look like to you? Um, what if we had, 100 million cases? Well, how do you turn those into concrete network moves?
Sure. So um, within the model and within the work that we do, we can proxy new products and give them a profile. We can replicate a SKU profile that exists today. That's where the question usually comes is, what if we had another acquisition like this one, right? That kind of looked like it and had the same number of cases in the same distribution area. So then we can go in and kind of model that proxy SKU, number of SKUs and its distribution. Um, and yeah, so I think that's where we then see the shift of warehouse capacity, distribution. What does that mean for days on hand and lead time, and what's the cost, versus the baseline, and what's the suggestion for what that network would look like,
Yeah.
and try to get out ahead of that.
When you are in supply chain, well, any company really, there are experts. And some experts, lead with data, some experts lead with intuition. And very often leaders' intuition wins out. Can you think about a time where you've used data to say, hey, maybe your intuition might not be correct in this instance?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this tool being a end-to-end network wide tool and view. Is traditionally we go do exercises and solve where there is pressure. So if there's a space constraint in an area, that must be where the problem is. We need to go solve there.
Right.
Right. And so the intuition is, where there's smoke, there's fire,
Right.
but not necessarily, right? There's the ripple effect of the entire network. So not having space in one region means forward deploying to another region.
Right.
So you think the problem is in the region that
Right.
is really just holding the problem from
It's
another.
pushing it back or holding it. Yeah.
Right. So we see times where folks were out of space in Southern California. It must be Southern California where the solution needs to be.
Right.
But that's solving in that orbit, and that's what I love about this tool, and
Yeah.
just the tool, really just the methodology and the concept of full end-to-end network
Yeah.
visibility, and again, the speed at which we can do that solve and solution and gain those insights, not something you can do on previous applications.
No. Technology's come a long way. Are you guys using artificial intelligence and machine learning? And
Yeah, so we on the modeling team and whatnot, we're really trying to integrate AI into the queries and the building and Snowflake, how we pull data, and I would say we've expanded, at least on my team, the ability at which we can consume larger amounts of data and work with larger amounts of data. So rather than being constrained to pull 30 days or 3 months or 6 months, we can pull multiple years of data at a time, and we can manipulate and translate that data into something for the model, something for a dashboard. So
yeah.
I would say that, um, again, the skills through the collaboration with Gaines have kind of fostered that
Yeah.
awareness of new ways of working and new technologies that,
Yeah.
that we've been bringing in.
Like a whole holistic approach to the supply
Yeah.
chain. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I know with Keurig Dr Pepper, you have a lot of different products that you sell. A lot of different SKUs, and I know that one of the things that we talked about earlier is one of the trends that is emerged recently in your field is like variety packs and cans, like the different size cans of a shape cans. And I imagine that creates some complexity in your network, just adding different SKUs, of course, and then also similar SKUs and that type of thing. How do you model that in gains?
Yeah, so we can look at things at a brand level, at a platform level, or at a SKU level in the model. So we have that kind of visibility and complexity. But yeah, I mean, the consumer is constantly kind of changing the way that they want to consume a product,
Sure.
whether it's variety packs, like you said, or just the shape of the can. And if you look at Dr. Pepper, the number of different platforms and formats, it's all Dr. Pepper in the
Right.
in the vessel, but
It's
it's
right.
anywhere from a 2 liter down to a mini can and
Yeah.
any shape and size in between.
Right.
And so, yeah, SKU proliferation is just as impactful as volume growth, right?
Mhm.
And so there are ways that we can constrain warehouses in the modeling to say this can only handle X number of SKUs. Just with the way the warehouse is set up from the storage and racking, right?
Right.
Because yeah, SKU proliferation is something that we can leverage the model to help with, but it is a growing complexity.
You've emphasized building different scenarios and testing those scenarios and logical compounding steps. Um, showing your work to stakeholders, getting buy-in. How do you lay out those? How do you lay that out? Those runs.
Yeah, that's been probably my biggest learning. That the growth area that I needed to develop in this process. It's the storytelling, right? Like the model, you can optimize everything, but once you start manipulating more than one variable,
Yeah.
you're now you're climbing the stairs and you're leaping 4 or 5 steps. Like you
Right.
got to go one step at a time
Yeah.
and show each lever that you pull the
Yeah.
isolated impacts and kind of build that story. And so, rather than showing the final fully optimized
Mm.
whiz bang
Right.
work and
Right.
trying to like answer every question and walk it back and explain,
Yeah.
it truly is it's just like you're back in high school and you got to show your work on the math problem.
Right.
Like the answer, but you got to show the steps.
Right. Well, that's a big part of making people believe, right?
Exactly.
Seeing is believing, as they say. And so, when you show up with an architectural rendering of it, but this is what it's going to look like. But the question, how do we get there and what does that look like for me, is such a prevalent question for everybody involved.
Yep. No, it's stakeholder engagement, but it's also, making sure that you're you're carrying those leaders through the conversation.
So you've adopted Gains as a solution to help you through building warehouse models and finding storage. What's next for you in Gains? What things where are you looking to expand Gains next?
Yeah, so exactly. This model started from solving a space constraint problems in the warehouse network, and so that's where it began. And as we've again taken it on the road and shown people in the organization the capabilities and understanding that the model can work more up and downstream. So we are currently, looking at the downstream distribution network all the way to the customer, and then we'll be taking it upstream into the production network and optimizing that as well.
Well, when you talk about using data to tell a story, is that part of that as well? Is that once you're able to explain that to people, are you seeing more and more hands raised? Where you're saying, "Hey, we've seen success with our warehouse. We want to go," and people are like, "Yeah, optimize me next."
Well, yeah, and I think that's where we see the solution in the warehouse network, and now folks are saying, "Okay, but let's look at that holistically with manufacturing and downstream sales." So it's kinda like, "Okay, yes, I agree and I hear it, but let's look at it full end to end." So
Yeah.
it's one of those where it's a yes, and we like the answer, but now we just wanna pressure check and make sure that there's not more optimization opportunities before we kinda plant that flag.
When we talk about incrementalism, right, and moving forward in small steps, very often what happens is we see people who, because I say that improvement is addictive. And so once you see improvement in another area, you want to improve more areas. But often what happens is before they're finished, before they finishing of this, they get excited about the result, they move on to the next one. Which sort of, if you don't have a foundation, a strong foundation, as you know, things tend to fall apart.
Yeah.
And so how do you help to build that foundation, that strong data foundation to build
Sure.
from?
So, um, same kind of learnings from telling the story within baseline to optimized as we've set up our roadmap for the scenarios and the pillars of the modeling that we're going to do. Same kind of concept, right? Like, here's the logical order in which we're going to bite size through the supply chain
Right.
end to end to get to that story. So it's kind of there's these four pillars that are going to build the house, and then within those pillars, we'll do the walk from
Right.
baseline to optimize them all together, and then build it. So it's kind of become, to your point, is okay. It worked here. We want to do it in these three other
Right.
ones. So now we kind of understand the process that we need to go through
Right.
for each of this.
Are you able to identify in those products or in those projects, are you able to identify sort of clear signposts that it's working?
Yeah, and I think both the financials, right? I mean, the
Sure.
model with all the financials. So I mean, that's a great signpost. But then also when you engage with the operations team, with the frontline team, not just, you know, behind the screen modeling theoretically, but when you start talking about it in actual operations and things make sense and you start getting into the details and see where the products were flowing and now where they should be flowing, and you start trying to make it real, that's when things start clicking and people start really, getting behind the solution.
So if somebody is looking to design an always on to get started with a solution with gains and network design that's always on, always building that visibility, what would you say is your advice to help people get started?
I would say that the first thing you need to do is make sure that you know how to pull all of the data out of your ERP system that you need. Like, that was our biggest learning and hurdle is you get to companies that have been around for decades and generations, and there's some manual manipulation that you do every time you
Yeah.
pull data, or it's a customize this or a customize that, and
Yeah.
um, being able to, because the model's only good data in, good data out, bad in,
So,
bad out, right?
yeah.
And so if you can't replicate your business into that model because of the way that you have to pull and manipulate your data, like, you need to clean that up first.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for coming to the show. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Waddles. And that's a wrap for today's conversation with Tyler Waddles of Keurig Dr Pepper. A big thanks to Tyler for offering a clear, honest look at what it takes to modernize a network and bring an entire organization along for the ride. We've learned that transforming a network depends on building trust in the data. walking leaders through each scenario step by step and giving every function a shared view of how decisions ripple across the business. When teams all work from the same picture, decisions get faster, alignment grows, and momentum builds. We also saw how always-on modeling helps KDP stay ahead of the curve, and whether they're absorbing inorganic growth, managing new product formats, or evaluating upstream and downstream opportunities. Good data creates clarity, and clarity creates confidence. If this episode sparked ideas about strengthening your own network design capabilities, head to gainsystems.com to learn more. If you're enjoying this season of Gains On, be sure to share it with a colleague and subscribe. More insights and transformations are on the way, so keep learning, keep optimizing, and remember, in the world of supply chain, we're all in this together. This is Joe Davis from Gains On, signing off. Until next time.
Want to stay connected with all things Gains and continue to explore the exhilarating world of supply chain planning and design? Then don't forget to follow Gains on LinkedIn, where you can be part of our growing and vibrant professional community. And for more content, engaging posts and updates, don't forget to like and subscribe to Gains on YouTube. Trust us, you won't want to miss what we're sharing. If today's podcast episode left you hungry for even more insights, we've got you covered. Every episode of Gains On is accompanied by a detailed blog post for those who wish to dive deeper into the topic. Whether you're looking to expand your knowledge or find that special morsel of information, our blogs are designed with you in mind. Visit gainsystems.com for more. All the links you need can be found in the description below. Thanks once again for tuning into Gains On, and remember, we're here to help you decode the world of supply chains, one episode at a time.